Now we do what we regularly do, and that's just to have a regular Board of Selectmen meeting. I'll call that to order. We've done the Pledge of Allegiance. Are there additional agenda and consent items?
I'd like to add a motion, make it 2N, and that would be to authorize the first selectman to sign a memorandum of agreement with Donald Marr to the May 6, 2015 agenda.
Second.
Been seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Also, we want to move, if it's the pleasure of this commission, we want to move the item 2M.
No, 2L.
2L.
Sorry,
2L
2L.
up to A1.
To the very top of our new business agenda. So before the A, if you will.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Darlene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we'll move forward. Delegations. This is where the public speaks to the commission on any items that might be on our agenda tonight, including cell phone towers, which I know the neighborhood's here. So, would anyone like to speak? And, again, make your comments short and succinct and clear for us. You'll have to give your name and your address for the record, okay? Anyone like to speak? Jim first, I saw. You do this time? Yeah, good.
Thank you, Mark. Jim Fleming, 10 Seebeck Road. I'm here to ask the Board of Selectmen, and I thank you for your time, to act as an intervener for us in the cell tower issue that we have. But I'm not asking you just to be an intervener. I'm asking you to be an active intervener. I'd like you to hit AT&T tomorrow to let them know there's alternate sites, that there may be town sites. This is not just not in my backyard. This is not in anybody's backyard. There are plenty. We have 2 industrial parks in town. There are other industrial sites. We need you to support us and support us hard. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Ann Santoro, 11 Rose Lane. Thanks. Good evening to the Board of Selectmen and to other town officials and the public that's come out. Thank you very much. I've been working with Jim very closely. Our group, by the way, has a little name. We are known as the East Lyme Residents for Responsible Cell Tower Placement. I just want to give a couple of introductory remarks, and then others, such as Jim has just done, will elaborate on some key points. Yes, we do want the town to intervene on our behalf. It's absolutely critical. We feel that the town has a vested interest in what's going on here, and that what is essentially happening is on a private residential lot or lots, a commercial undertaking that is at least with AT&T to have cell tower service will be happening in and around several neighborhoods, which we think is inappropriate in light of zoning laws, zoning regulations. The site itself presents tremendously complex personal property rights issues, which I think the town also needs to be cognizant of and would want to protect. In particular, there are easement issues, there are ownership issues into Ancient Highway, there are utility ownership issues, among other things. In addition, there are environmental issues, there are wetlands in and around the area, there are conservation tracts, there may even be areas of historical importance there. So this presents yet another issue, another reason for you to be jumping into the case. One of our members will address the diminution of property values issue, the visual consequences, what that means for tax revenues for the town, and also, and just generally speaking, if the town were to find alternative sites, let's say on town-owned land, that would definitely be to the town's benefit in terms of revenue directly to the town. I think after our site walk yesterday, what struck me, and others will elaborate on this perhaps, is that, as you know, the application before the Siting Council, the Connecticut Siting Council, is one for a temporary tower. And the allegations of AT&T are that that they can kind of bypass a number of procedural requirements, let's say, by seeking a temporary tower as opposed to a permanent tower. And they seem to want the site for a permanent tower. In my estimation, and I think the estimation of the group, putting in the temporary tower poses the same nearly identical issues as would be for putting in a permanent tower, minus the difference between 175 feet versus 85 feet. You have the same issues of ingress and egress. You have the same issues of getting the proper building permits, getting your proper OKs, ruining the road, the environmental impact, being in the middle of neighborhoods. It doesn't really make a difference that you have a temporary tower versus the permanent tower. If I may, I really believe that AT&T should have approached this in a way that to find a site for a permanent tower and not try to side-skirt proper environmental evaluations, public need, et cetera, by taking this faster track. Along the same lines, and someone will address that, and I'm almost done, notice issues. This group that you see has assembled in a matter of days, gotten up to speed in a matter of days. A few of the neighbors who abut on or near Ancient Highway were able to have notice, legal notice. The rest of us, it was literally learning it on the street, passing one another on the street. By the way, come to the town meeting that we had, because they're going to put a cell tower up. There was, so that's a very interesting piece because, as others will elaborate upon, this activity, entering into the lease, exploring by both the lessor and lessee, has a longer history, tremendously longer history. And those whose property will be affected were not anywhere in this process. So I leave it to my colleagues to elaborate, and thanks very much.
Thanks, Ms. Santoro.
Hi, I'm Richard England. I'm at 22 Bittersweet, and I was, as Ann said, I was one of the homeowners that wasn't notified. I looked at the map and estimated there's about 6 houses, including mine, that are within 600 feet of the tower, but because my property doesn't directly abut the lot that the tower's on, we didn't get a notification. I did finally get one on Friday. I think AT&T realized that they should let people know close to the tower that there's a tower in their backyard. Because it's relatively dense woods with a lot of mountain laurel back there, when you go back, you don't appreciate how many houses there are close by. I estimated somewhere around 3 dozen houses within 1,000 feet, which again is quite close to this tower. As a property owner, I went to the internet and said, what does it do to have a cell tower basically in your backyard? And there's probably at least 10 or 12 houses that this will, 175 feet, but if you don't know, is at least 3 or 4 times taller than most trees. So it won't hide among the trees. The temporary will be just barely above treetops. So the internet is somewhat divided. There's discussion of health issues. And I'm a physician, so I'm not sure that's a real strong argument. There's pluses and minuses. People debate on the radiation from cell towers. But because there's concern, there might be, people don't like to live next to towers. We're not being given any choice here. And it's clear, internet estimates were 10 to 40% of property value decreases by being very close to a cell tower. Now, I understand the tower that's on Plum Hill is also close to some residents. They chose to be there. The tower's been there for 25 years, so that development happened after the tower was there. We're not being given any choice. Now, I understand nobody wants to be near a cell tower. They're big and ugly and have to go somewhere. We all want good cell reception. But it seems to me that there wasn't much consideration given to other alternatives. Now, yesterday we heard from AT&T that this was the best site. Perhaps it is the best site for them. I don't know exactly what surveys they do. It's a reasonably high location. It's not the highest location, so it may be good for them. But it's at the expense of the neighborhood that we're subsidizing, and AT&T is not my carrier. I have very good Verizon service without this tower.
Me too.
Good evening, First Selectman Nickerson and other board members. My name is John Bialawans Jr. of 61 Walnut Hill Road. I would like to bring to the attention of the Selectmen Board a matter of Walnut Hill Road and Grassy Hill Road about the solar farm. Since the Board of Selectmen is the beginning of our chain of command in our local government, they should be able to help us. We would like their help, guidance on this matter. We have tried, and others have tried for a long time, to get the help of the Wetlands Commission. They had this matter off the agenda for a while now, since they have put it back on under old business, so nobody can make comments on the solar farm. The matters that I would like to have the Board of Selectmen do: to tell the Wetlands Commission to do their job. The town attorney has been at one of their meetings and told them about their responsibilities and actions that they can do. Many people know that the Wetlands Commission had their hands tied very tight, so Gary and the Wetlands Commission couldn't do their job. But it's very surprising to many people how the Gateway project is being hammered by the Wetlands Commission and Connecticut DEP. Isn't that strange? No politics involved at the Gateway project, and I repeat, no politics involved at the Gateway project. The Wetlands Agency issued a cease and desist and restore order on the solar farm dated April 4th, 2014. Just on the CDR order, there are policy, procedures not being followed, executed, or addressed, just overlooked. Authority contents, complaint contents, violation contents, corrective action contents, submit restoration plan contents, full compliance contents, non-compliance context, false statement context, agency's power context, no assurance by agent context, no effect on rights of other persons connected, and notification of non-compliance contents. Here are just a few of the items that need to be addressed now. But don't forget about all the items on this CDR order that need to be enforced, followed, and not overlooked. The Town of East Lyme Inland Wetlands Watercourse regulations are not being followed, executed, or addressed. They're just being overlooked. The Connecticut General Statutes, sections 22A through 42A, that need to be enforced, followed, and just being overlooked. Chapter 440 of the Connecticut Wetlands and Watercourse Act, sections 22A-36 to 22A-45A, that are not being followed, executed, or addressed, just being overlooked. The better half and myself only just started with the federal guidelines for wetlands, watercourses, and the environment. Here are just a few of the board to think about. Clean Water Act, Section 440, National Environment Policy Act of 1969, United States Code of Wetlands and Watercourses, Section 552 of Title V, and the United States EPA. As a taxpayer now and generations before paying taxes, why do we have to do the town's work by hiring well-qualified professionals and attorneys, soil scientists, and various other people? It's in black and white that it's the town's duty to enforce their wetlands and watercourse regulations, the CDR order, the state of Connecticut wetlands and watercourse regulations, and the federal government guidelines, and all the laws to protect the wetlands and watercourses. We are trying to be taxpayer friendly, but if our town is not going to be town friendly, it leaves us with no recourse but to sue the town for not doing their job on restoring our wetlands, tributaries, Cranberry Meadow Brook, Latimer's Brook, and maybe the Sound. We are not the ones that alter their property, sold everything they could off the property, stripped the land down to hardpan, had retention ponds built, failed twice, and had all the surface water drain into one area on their property, not being absorbed into farmland, wood areas like it was before. It's a shame what they did to that property. They promised the town everything, the siding council, the taxpayers, and did nothing. It's no wonder why nobody wants to be associated with this solar farm and the mess up there and just want it to be overlooked. Since we are doing the town's work that they have overlooked on this solar farm to enforce, including their CDR order, East Lyme's wetlands and watercourse regulations, also the state and federal wetlands and watercourse regulations, and all the laws pertaining to wetlands. The town would have to hire an attorney, soil scientists, and others to litigate this matter anyway. Again, I say, we are doing the town's work, and we're advised and strongly feel that we should be compensated for damages, punitive damages, attorney's fees, litigation costs, expenses for various expert witnesses, and all related expenses for our tributary, pond, wetlands, and natural resource damages, including Cranberry, Meadowbrook, and Latimus Brook, like it was when my grandparents bought it and enjoyed it before. We would also like to protect our tributary, wetlands, natural resources, and Cranberry, Meadowbrook, and Latimus Brook from any more damage, past, present, and future. Also, the town should execute a deed or restriction on the solar farm for this purpose of damages, since the water in our tributary is warming up. This is not good for so many reasons and should also be addressed, not overlooked. Finally, I would like to add that this is the second time I have asked this board about this problem in full. The town didn't pursue any of its own wetlands regulations, their CDR order, the Army Corps of Engineers regulations, Connecticut wetlands, DEP regulations, federal government wetlands regulations. It's surprising how all these regulations have been overlooked because of politics. The date I handed all this information to the Board of Selectmen was at the November 19th, 2014 meeting. I would like to bring up some issues that were mentioned at the wetlands meeting on Monday, the 4th, 2015. We had a mediation meeting on March 27th with 3 attorneys, town officials, Don Fortunella, Michael Klein, Selectmen, Joan Benson, and ourselves to discuss the damage to our tributary. We had dates to address by on this matter, and they were 4/13 site walk, Gary, Don, and Michael, 4/17/15 report due from Michael Klein, 5/1 all revisions done, 5/12 discussions off-site issues. It seems like that all of us set up all these dates and nothing is going to happen. The town has a conservation easement on that parcel. Why is the Board of Selectmen doing nothing to enforce this easement? During the Wetlands Commission site walk on Saturday, May 2nd, 2015, they found the solar farm still unstable, erosion problems, and other issues. Wouldn't you think the Senate plan would try to clean up the mess before there, but that just goes to show you they don't care. They are above the regulations, didn't have to follow the cease and desist restore order on them. Myself, everybody else that's involved would just like us to go away and forget about all the damage that they caused on the property and others. It's very surprising our Gateway project had 2 cease and desist and restore orders on them, and the Wetland Commission was very happy how they acted so quickly to follow their CD order and make it right. No politics to help them there. And they had it on, the cease and desist were on for about maybe the most 5 to 6 months. The almost last remark that I would like to say is, I'm sorry that I had repeated myself to the Selectmen Board so many times in this letter. I'm not going away and forget about our damage to our tributary that was caused by a big rush of water from the retention pond failure. Finally, my last remark is that the town is very liable for their actions on how they handled, pursued, and overlooked this matter. And if the Board of Selectmen or any other person were in our shoes, what would they do and how would they feel? No, we just want to be Republican.
Okay.
Can't jump again.
Make sure Dominique gets one. All that. Thank you, Mr. Bialowitz. As you know, we can't make comment during
Thanks,
public
John.
delegation. Our inland wetlands officer was here and heard that. Sir.
Hi, yes, my name is Tim Hyman. I live at 74 Ancient Highway. I'm here to speak to you about the cell phone tower that is planned for Ancient Highway. I'm an easement holder for the road, and I have some concerns about the waiver that AT&T is seeking to environmental assessment. We're here, all of us are here to seek the town's support, to seek the town's agencies to be aligned on this across environmental assessments, building codes, and things like this. And so the community is here asking for your support in this issue. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you.
Crystal clear. Anyone else speaking, Rocco?
Rocco Tricarico, 17 Rose Lane. I want to thank first I want to thank the first selectman for having organized the first meeting and informational meeting, which really helped us pull the group together. And I want to thank you for moving us up on the agenda tonight.
Oh, that's
I
happening.
appreciate that. As we've talked over the past couple of weeks, and as others have articulated, this is a multifaceted and very quick process, which we need to figure out a way to slow down. The gentleman who spoke earlier about the issue with the solar farm, we can have the same issues happening up on Ancient Highway. I understand the siting council points a finger at a map and says we're putting something here, and the town has little to no control over what happens. The problem is the town is left with the result of lack of planning and lack of input. And this is our chance to do something about that. We hope we can resolve the problem with the solar farm. I know it's been an ongoing issue, but I'm sitting here listening, and I'm saying that could happen up on Ancient Highway. We're going to have deforestation. We're going to have erosion. We're going to have easement issues. We're going to have water issues. We're going to have impact on wetlands. And it's all because the siting council and AT&T decided that this is in the best interest of AT&T. They haven't consulted the town. They did what they had to do legally, but they haven't worked as true partners in this endeavor. They started this process years ago. They claim that it's only a couple of months old. We know better than that. They've linked the temporary tower to the permanent tower because they know it'll be easier to get the permanent tower approved if the temporary tower is in place. And this is a way to do an end round and a bait and switch around the system. And it's going to be the detriment, not just everyone in this room, but to the town as a whole, which is why we need the town to be active with this group, to work with us, because it's not a good precedent where outside forces can come into East Lyme or any other town or anyone's backyard and say, this is what we're putting on your property or next to your property, and bypass environmental concerns, zoning concerns, planning, etc. That's the system we have in Connecticut today. And the system takes the power away from the boards, takes the power away from the people.
Yeah.
And we're at this stage in this process where if we stick together as a community, government and individuals, we can stop it, we can get the law changed, and we can get some power back into the community and the people who are going to be most impacted, which is why I urge you to sign on as interveners, but also to send a clear message to AT&T and the siting council that the Board of Selectmen and the town of East Lyme isn't going to allow them to just point their finger at a spot on a map and think that it doesn't impact us or the rest of the town. So I hope that you can, we'll sign on to that. As an illustration, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see some renderings. This is a map of the homes that will be impacted within a 600 to 1,000-foot radius. And this is a Photoshop illustration of what that size tower will be in that community, taken from.
The 80-foot tower?
No, that's the 180-foot
Okay.
tower. But again, as was spoken
Right.
to earlier, there is no difference.
I agree.
If that 80-foot tower goes in, the next thing that'll be in our backyard is that 180-foot tower. Because even yesterday during the site walk, AT&T readily admitted this is their preferred site. And what was most disturbing is AT&T also alleged that they had engaged in good faith negotiations with the town and did not find any other alternative site to their liking. And I don't think that's the case. I think they had a brief discussion with the town and may have looked cursory at some sites, but I don't think they've done an in-depth analysis. They want this site because they don't want someone else getting it, and they want their hands on it, and that's the reality. But the town has a vested interest up there, not only with water easements, not only with a right-of-way easement across the ancient highway. There's going to be water issues down and flooding issues if the town doesn't act. So I think the town has a vested interest not only in setting a precedent to stand up to AT&T and the siting council, but also to show good faith to the community. One other point is, other towns have been able to postpone the process, and they've gotten their zoning departments and their planning departments to start drafting local legislation and local ordinances as sort of a roadmap. Burlington, for one, is doing this now. AT&T pulled back from their proposed tower proposal because the town, through zoning, said we're going to adopt some local ordinances and a local sort of template that we want you to follow. And I think East Lyme should get active with that. I was happy to see First Selectmen and Wetlands and Planning represented yesterday. I was frankly disappointed that zoning chose not to attend the walkthrough yesterday. I think that I think the town departments need to speak with one voice, and that it has to be a consistent message sent, and that any ex parte communications with, well, don't worry about the tower going there, it's only a few people who are worried, is not the case. So I think we plan on fighting this for as long as it takes, and we want you to be our partner in that fight. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Casey, and I'm here from the Crescent Beach Board of Governors, and I'm here in support of you amending the golf cart regulation, deleting Crescent Beach from the ordinance. Mr. Nickerson, we had a few emails